The Bug Bux Podcast!
Let's talk about pricing.
I have noticed, because I've done the lowest pricing, the $35 a month, and then I've done the premium pricing. You get the worst clients at the low pricing. So if you don't raise your prices, you're going to get the people that always call for reservices, always complain. You're going to get those people to stick on. If you raise your prices consistently, the ones that are I'd say cheapest and the biggest complainers that don't feel like they're getting the value for their money are going to fall off and go to cheaper companies. And I love that.
If we're priced wrong or we're not doing increases, like some folks in the Bug Bux group, it's almost like a badge of honor. I will never increase price. Another thing that you're saying is I'm never going to give my technicians raises.
When you don't know, I guess the best place to start is just call competitors, figure out what other companies are charging, and then at least that gives you a starting point. And you never want to be the cheaper one. Your margin's going to erode, and you're going to be in a position, in 5 or 10 years where you're like, oh, we need to switch to a cheaper product, or we can't get a new vehicle for our tech because margins are thin. So you're basically cutting corners and creating problems in the future that you don't have now.
I'm excited to have Luke Lewis. He's a former FBI intelligence analyst turned PCO. He founded Native Pest Management in West Palm Beach, Florida in 2015. His company has been on the Inc. 5000 list for 5 years in a row and is now number 63 on the PCT Top 100 list. How did you guys do it, and what were your mistakes? What were the things that you got right, specifically regarding pricing? Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bug Bux Podcast. I'm your host, Allan Draper. Very exciting episode today for you. Somebody that I've wanted to have on the show for quite a while. Before we get into that, if you're looking for a community, you're looking for some support, you're trying to scale your pest control company, you're looking for, I don't know what it is, somebody to unload on, tell your problems to, talk about issues that you're having, someone to hold you accountable, Bug Bux Plus is the spot for you. So make sure to check that out. We're on the school community, that's SKOOL. Just go to school. I'll put a link in the show notes, but that's Bug Bux Plus. So I'm excited to have Luke Lewis on the show with us today.
Glad to be here. Thanks, Allan.
That's super cool, man. So the ongoing joke in the community is like, hey, I didn't purposefully seek out the pest control industry. And so it looks like that's especially true in your case.
Yeah, especially true. Yeah, couldn't get further from it, I guess, in that case. But hey, you go from investigating terrorists to finding bugs. Same process, just
there you go.
One's a little more hands-on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was it? What was that first, introduction to the pest control industry?
Yeah. So I had been in the FBI for almost 3 years. They pick where you go. I went to FBI Academy, and I was 23. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to New York City or Chicago, something like that. They picked Tallahassee. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know anyone in Tallahassee. It's a small town. So I realized after I got there, or here, because I'm still here many years later, that it was more of a retirement destination. So it was fun. But, I realized, hey, all my coworkers are talking about how many days till retirement. And I was like 23, 24. I didn't, want to do that. My family, my mom and dad had always owned a landscaping business, for 40 plus years. So I grew up, hearing them at the dinner table talking about business, all the time they were talking about business. So I was like, this government thing it was fun to see, but it wasn't for me. So, eventually after a few years, I left to go work for my dad, thinking, hey, he's going to retire in a few years. I'll take over his landscape business. Quickly realized he's probably never, ever going to retire. And that's just the guy he is. So I was desperate to find a way out of landscaping, working for my dad. So that's when, spraying lawns just, it was like, okay, that's something that's very similar to what I'm doing, but I can break out on my own. Yeah, so I started off just doing lawns on Palm Beach Island in South Florida. So he gave me a nice head start because I was able to get some of his clients signed up. And then, from there, quickly took on home pest, termite, and it's taken off. That was 11 years ago that happened.
That's awesome. It looks like, yeah, so if you started 2015, that's the same year we started building Proof. Yep. I should say we started in 2014. We opened our doors in 2015.
Yeah.
So
about the same for us. We're right there.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So our first sale was like March 26th, I think, of 2015. That was the first
Yeah.
like actual customer that we got.
Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. We were like February or March 2015. So right there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's cool to talk to somebody that's because business is cyclical, and
Hmm.
as you grow, and I think we're in the same ballpark size wise also, which is for a company that's 10 now 11 years old. That's a lot of growth.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of
Really
questions
is.
that I get and I see in the community are around pricing. And when
Hmm.
we started Proof, we didn't know we kind of
Same. I didn't know
we kind
anything.
of called around
Yeah.
and like, hey, where's the market at?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So let's talk about pricing and how, with Proof, we tried to be in kind of, we started our branch in Detroit. Our first branch was in Detroit. And so we were using, there's different ways to kind of come up with a pricing model.
Hmm.
There's also I have no idea, I'm going to price it at $29 a month,
Yeah.
which some companies do in Arizona.
Hmm.
But what was in the early days? How did you guys do it? And what were your mistakes? What were the things that you got right specifically regarding pricing?
Yeah. So I was one of those companies that didn't know anything. I'd been in the FBI
Yeah, that's
doing
most of us.
landscaping for my dad. Yeah. So I knew nothing. I didn't know anything about pricing, never knew anyone that did pest control, nothing. So I
Mhm.
started off doing monthly service because I didn't know any better for home pest, monthly service, $35 a month. And I was thinking in my head, oh, this is great money. I can do it in 20, 30 minutes. I'm like making
Yeah.
over 50 bucks an hour. So I'm sure a lot of guys out there are thinking that same thing or have thought it in the past. And it's crazy because now we're, almost double that price and doing quarterly. So back then I really didn't know anything. I was scared to mention it to people. I thought like even 35 a month was too much. And just learned, just took time. Basically, I knew so little that I came in contact with an entomologist, and I actually hired him to come to my house. And I said, "Hey, I don't know anything about pest control." And he walked around my house with me and told me, "Okay, this is where you treat, spray here, put bait here." And then I asked him a bunch of, "Okay, what do I price? What?" So I basically just had him like, I'm a big fan of paying consultants. Kind of, I see it as leapfrogging ahead, and you're, instead of just wasting time figuring it out on your own, you're paying someone to save time because time to us is probably more valuable than money.
Hmm.
So really just get, don't reinvent everything. Just find out, what's out there and these Facebook groups from consultants and, make it happen. So quickly I fixed my pricing and went from there.
So let's kind of back up. Why did you get to, what was it that got you at $29 a month? And when you say a month, so there's a lot of people that do the monthly
Yeah.
subscription model,
Yep.
but you're billing monthly, servicing monthly.
Yeah. So it was, 35 a month is where I started, and it was servicing monthly and billing per service, which was the worst. Cause then, people would be like, "Hey, let's skip this month." And I'm not getting paid if
Yeah.
they skip. So it took me years to figure all that stuff out. I mean, years. It took, 4 years to hit $1 million of revenue. Now I see these younger guys in the groups. "Hey, I hit $1 million my first year." I'm like,
Hmm.
dang, that's impressive because that's way faster than I did it.
Yeah. And so was there something that kind of triggered that? My guess is yes,
Hmm.
regarding the pricing. Was there something where you're like, hey, we
Yeah.
got to do something about this?
Yep. I realized that, hey, I hired an employee, wanted to get a second employee, in my first year, to kind of get the ball rolling, get out of the field as fast as I could. And I realized, 35 a month isn't cutting it. My background was in accounting. I used to be a CPA. And
Oh,
but
okay.
still, yeah, I didn't know that about pricing. I just was like, hey, it seems good. That's what my companies in that neighborhood were charging that I started in. It was like a 55 and older community, so they were used to lower pricing and really aggressive. I mean, there was a company doing 15 a month in there, so I felt like I was super high at
Wow.
35. Yeah, but when you look at it and I would sit there and watch, okay, how are they doing at 15 a month? I watched the guy with a B&G go up to the front door, spray the front door, walk to the back door, spray the back door, leave, and just go house to house, like 2 to 3 minutes a house. And so that's the only way to make it happen. If you're, you can't be the lowest price and do a good quality service. So you got to choose, what you want. And I didn't want to be that low price company. I wanted to be, a premium pest control company, which I see us now. That's our branding, premium pest control.
Yeah, gotcha. So it's interesting you being a CPA because there's obviously the financial way of determining price where you kind of work backward into it, right? You impute like these are my variable costs. This is what it's going to cost me to do a service. This is my overhead. This is what I've got to cover, and then imputing a profit margin there. But you weren't interested in doing that at all.
I wasn't a good CPA. That's why I ended up in pest control and FBI. I actually never did accounting outside of college. So
Gotcha.
I wish I paid more attention and did that. So that would have been a proper way to do it, just like you described. But when you don't know, I guess the best place to start is just call competitors, figure out what other companies are
Yeah.
charging, and then at least that gives you a starting point. And you never want to be the cheaper one. I know most guys starting out, they think, oh, no one knows me. Let me just be the lowest price. But what happens is, and I see this all the time with all the industries, is if you charge the lowest, yes, you're going to get a lot of customers. You're going to get so busy that you can't take on new work and you can't hire employees or grow because you don't have enough profit. So it's a huge mistake to go, right out of the gate, charging low to try to get a bunch of clients. Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
I wanted to kind of bring that up, this subtopic of just generally in the market, where do you want to fall? And I always say that you want to be in the top 20% or in the bottom 20%. And the people that are in the middle, they'll survive, but there's a whole bunch of issues there. But you brought up some good points about being in the lower portion of that. And it's tough to do, right? It's the Walmarts of the world, the Amazons, where it takes, I don't even know how long it took Amazon, forever before they started making a profit, but they had this decade long vision, but kind of pricing based off of the market, quote unquote market, based off this kind of rudimentary research into the market. I think it's an okay way to do it because you have all these levers where it's like you said, perfect example, the dude with the B&G front door, back door done in 2 to 3 minutes. That's his model.
Yep.
That's not one I would choose.
Yeah,
But if
some people that works.
If you're like, hey, and the funny thing is that I didn't realize this until we opened our branch in Arizona, because we're mostly in northern states, New York, we're in Boston, Colorado, Michigan, Reno, Salt Lake, Denver. And then we go to Phoenix, and it's a completely different market, just really cheap services. Probably 50% of the companies are just, super cheap compared to other states. And it's like, well, I can go down there and compete with them, but I have to change my business model. I'm not power spraying the house all the way around, spending at least 30 minutes de-webbing, like doing the whole thing. And I think some of that goes to, well, what do I want to do with this company? Like, and if you're like, well, someday I'd like to exit, I don't know if you're going to be very successful with that if you're charging, $15 a month.
No, I doubt it. Because most exits, at least of larger companies these days, are to private equity, and the number one thing they look at is EBITDA. So they don't care. Hey, you could make 10 million, but if your profit's under $1 million, that's kind of a crap company, unless you're rapidly growing. That would be the only case that would be okay. But a lot of people focus on the top line instead of the bottom line. And I'm a big fan of Tommy Mello. I don't know if you've heard of him, but
He
so
lives in Phoenix.
yeah, exactly. So with pricing, I remember he always says you can be two of three things. You can be the lowest price, you could be the fastest, or you could be, top quality company. You can't be all three. So you have to choose
Can't be all
which two
three.
you want. Yeah. So for anyone choosing the price one, okay, that limits you. Are you going to be slow and telling people, okay, it'll be a couple weeks till I get out there because I'm so busy? Or are you going to give up on quality and be like that company that does 2 or 3 minute stops? So you can't do everything. Anyone that wants to do everything is just not going to succeed. You can't do that in any industry.
Are you still tracking technician performance on spreadsheets or whiteboards? Try the simpler way to track the right metrics: Applause scorecards. Scorecards bring all your key metrics, route completion, driving score, reservice frequency, reviews into one place. Techs get real-time visibility into their performance right in the app, while you get complete control over expectations, goals, and automated bonuses. No more manual work, just motivated technicians and better results for your business. Visit ApplausehQ.com to see how scorecards can turn technician performance into business growth. I think that's such a cool point. I'm glad you brought it up because it's relevant for the people that, even if they're not, in the $15 range, if they're not the lowest, because they can bring that up when the customer says, well, yeah, I got a guy that's, he's doing it for $15 and you're, in some of our markets, man, we're above $70 a month, I think. And so you I think that's a great point. Like, hey, absolutely. Like if you're looking for quick, in terms of not them getting to your house, but while they're there, not kind of this premier service like you were talking about. I mean, that's a really good point because it happens in the group all the time, in the Bug Bux group. People talk about, well, how do I compete with these people that are charging next to nothing? And it's like, don't compete on price.
Yeah, I mean, does
Don't
a steakhouse compete with McDonald's? No.
exactly.
Yeah, like certain people are looking for McDonald's and certain people are looking for a steakhouse. So you're going to get people that call you and say your price is outrageous. And that's because those are the McDonald's people. They're looking for that type of, so they want the low price and the shitty service. Sorry for my language. But
Exactly.
yeah, so you just got to know that. You got to know, don't let, maybe in the beginning I was a little bit influenced by that. People would say, "Oh, that's so expensive." And so I would feel bad about it, like, "Oh, maybe I am too expensive." But as the years went on, I really learned, okay, that's okay. I don't want them as a client. If they're just set on getting the cheapest service and they don't care about speed or quality, then they're not my client. And I wish them the best.
I think part of this entire conversation has to go back to the idea that not every pest control company is for every type of customer.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
when I first started Proof, it was like, it felt like a personal attack when somebody's like, no, I'm not interested. That's not,
Hmm. Exactly.
I'm going
Yeah.
to
You're
go with
like, oh, my
somebody
bad.
else.
Am I a bad sales rep? Like I should be able to close these guys, like, yeah. So you're right. It is, you can see it personal, like a personal thing. Like, why don't they, I love my company. Why don't they see that,
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so part of this pricing discussion is, what's your image, right?
Hmm. Your brand. Yeah.
Ferrari, yeah, exactly. Ferrari has never, despite the fact, I don't know if you saw I'm a big car guy, but they
I've seen that.
recently released an electric vehicle that I think is terrible, and it's $650,000.
Wow. That's crazy.
This literally happened yesterday or the day before, and I
Hmm.
don't know when this podcast is going to be released, but for the listener, go look at it. It is, yeah, unfortunate, and
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
big Ferrari guy, but using the example of Ferrari, they've never wanted to compete with mass production.
Hmm.
Never.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. They would fail
it.
if they did. Yeah. Because it's not their brand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not their brand. It's not their
Yeah.
mission. That's
Yeah.
not who they are. And so the pest control companies, a lot of times they'll start with like, hey, what's the price? Like, what is everybody else doing? When what they should start with is, what do I want to do? It's so hard to do though in the beginning when you're like, you have all these things up in the air, you're desperate for money, you're trying to keep the lights on. Anybody that walks in the door. So it's like, I think there's this, just like Proof, there's this point where, hey, we're going to tolerate kind of what we're doing right now and we're going to revisit it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, if you have to survive, I totally get that. If you have no other option, you got to do what you got to do. But you just have to have a due date or a deadline on, okay, I'm going to do this just to survive for the next 6 months. But this is going to change, long term. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
what has been your model at Native for price increases?
I've seen in the groups a lot, a lot of companies have said, a lot of owners have said, oh, I never increase my current clients. I only increase price on new clients. like eventually you'll go out of business if you do that and stick to that model.
Absolutely.
Inflation hits everything. Look at food prices over the last 10 years. So you have to raise prices and think you have to change your mindset on it to, okay, like this isn't fair to my customer to I'm actually raising prices so I can continue to provide a high quality service with the best employees, with the best products and be able to get out there, as soon as possible. That's what my customers want. If I don't raise their prices, I'm not going to be able to provide that to them long term. So I'm going to fail them. So you have to change your mindset on it. You're actually helping them by raising prices. So what we do is we automatically increase clients. We're pretty aggressive. We do 10% a year, and we do that when they hit their we do that when they hit their 12-month mark. And so every month we're doing that on people that started 12 months ago and prior to that, so that we're capturing that increase in revenue as soon as we can. And also, we used to years ago do a price increase once a year. Okay, we're doing a big price. You want to do it monthly if you can, because you're leaving revenue on the table. If say you wait 18 months, okay, you just left 6 months on the table that you could have raised it. And also, if you do it, you spread it out over 12 months, you don't get a bunch of complaint calls all at once and cancels and things like that. You kind of just make it part of your culture that, hey, on the first of every month, people are going to call in about that, and we know how to deal with it.
Yeah, I love that. We mimic a lot of what you said. Let's go back to that 10%. So is that
Mhm.
just the first year out of contract, or are you increasing prices 10% for everybody every year?
Everybody every year. So we're very aggressive on it. Yeah, we've tested different amounts. Yeah, we've done 5%, 8%, 12%, 15%. I'm a big fan of A/B testing. Just see, okay, how many cancels do we get? What's the price increase? So for us, I wouldn't say this is the whole country. South Florida specifically is kind of out of control with all the people moving from New York and California. So it's really good economy and lots of inflation's going on. So 10% works for us, but we ultimately determined that's the sweet spot.
I mean, I'm a fan of high prices, and you talked about, and there's a couple of reasons why. And it's not just to put more money in my pocket, but you talked about, hey, if we're priced wrong or we're not doing increases, like some folks in the Bug Bucks group, they're like, hey, it's almost like a badge of honor. I will never increase price. What another thing that you're saying is I'm never going to give my technicians raises,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And maybe you still figure out a way to do it. But the number one cost, the highest percentage cost, single line item in your cost of goods sold is your tech wages. There's
Yep,
nothing that's
exactly.
even close to that. Fuel's not close to that. Your products are really small. Insurance, a lot of people include insurance in that. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's like, hey, what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to necessarily once my businesses get established, the different branches, once that
Hmm.
branch gets established with a good EBITDA, I'm not I'm trying to keep it strong and maybe bump it a percent or two, but once it's really strong, I'm just trying to hold on to that. So
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
anything else, that price increase, because I'm getting price increases for every single line item,
Yep.
every single
Hmm.
one. So then how do I continue to raise what my techs are making and then everybody else in the company?
Yeah.
Because their prices are raising for everything else. Let's talk growth, real aggressive growth. If your company's already doing $1 million or more in revenue, but you're feeling stuck, it might be time for you to call in somebody who plays at your level. Pesty is the marketing agency built for ambitious pest control operators. They work exclusively with companies doing $1 million plus because that's where their playbook works best. Their clients don't just improve, they scale. 3 of them are actually now on the top PCT 100 list. One wasn't even on the radar a year ago. Another moved up 3 positions. Pesty doesn't chase impressions or fluff metrics. They build campaigns that generate qualified leads, own local search, and push serious operators to the front of the pack. So if you're tired of just getting by with your lead flow, visit pestymarketing.com. That's pesty, Pesty marketing.com. Pesty's not your vendor, they're your growth engine.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to take care of your people, like I said, to even take care of the customers, you have to, or else what's going to happen is your margin's going to erode, over the years. and you're going to be in a position, in 5 or 10 years where you're like, oh, we need to switch to a cheaper product, or we can't get a new vehicle for our tech because margins are thin. So you're basically cutting corners and creating problems in the future that you don't have now. And yeah, it's just not a good model. And also, I mean, there's another hidden benefit of that a lot of people don't think about. I have noticed because I've done the lowest pricing, the $35 a month, and then I've done the premium pricing. You get the worst clients at the low pricing. So if you don't raise your prices, you're going to get the people that always call for reservices, always complain. You're going to get those people to stick on. If you raise your prices consistently, the ones that are I'd say, cheapest and the biggest complainers that don't feel like they're getting the value for their money, are going to fall off and go to cheaper companies. And I love that.
Oh man, let's
Yeah.
say that again for the people that didn't catch it the first time. I've
Yeah.
got the solo operator in his truck, or
Mhm.
maybe somebody with a smaller company that's listened to this in their office, or for the listener, let's catch this again. So when we raise prices, we are improving our customer base.
Yes. Yep. 100%. Because if you
What
notice
a
that
concept.
it truly is a thing that some people will sign up with you
Absolutely.
and they feel like this is too expensive, even if it's cheap. They'll feel like it's too expensive for the value that they're getting, and that's just how they are, and so that any type of price increase, hopefully will push them away. Hopefully they don't even sign up with you, because like I said, if you want to be the steakhouse, you don't want to, someone with a McDonald's mentality walking in the door. They're not going to be happy with the experience.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. So when we raise prices, one of the main concerns, and you addressed this 5 minutes ago or so, is the cancellations,
Yep.
right? So people are so worried. They're like, hey, I'm not going to raise my prices,
Hmm.
especially the people that haven't done it yet. Maybe they've been around a year, maybe they've been around two, maybe they've been around 20. Seen that
Hmm.
also.
Yeah.
But what happens is like if you increase your prices 10%, what is that saying? It's saying if I don't lose 10% of my
Hmm.
entire customer base,
Hmm.
I'm winning. And it's
Yes.
not just winning because you're making the same amount. Obviously, there's some inflation and some market fluctuation there, but
Hmm.
just apples to apples here. Your top line is going to be the same, but you're doing a lot fewer services.
Yep. Less work for the same money.
Exactly. And to put people's
Yeah.
minds at ease, whatever you think the cancellation rate's going to be, it's going to be lower than that. I
Yes.
guarantee you. And there's all these tricks, and there's not tricks, but strategies, systems. Like at Proof, someone calls in, hey, just got my increase. I'm going to go ahead and cancel. There's safe systems in there. And we go through and we're like, well, inflation, blah, 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 blah. Technicians need to make more. All of our technicians got a raise this year. We want to keep that high level of service. That's going to save of the people that call in, which is going to be a very, very low percentage in the first place. That's going to save more than half of them right there. You're going to save them within a minute. Then there's going to be some that will waffle, push back. Well, I don't know, and you'll still be able to save them. The others, if you do want to save them, you're like, all right, let's do this. I'll grandfather you in. If and this is for the PCO that is super concerned about cancellation rate. And I'm trying to put their mind at ease. Like worst case scenario, hey, Susan, I'm going to grandfather you in because you've been with us for 5 years. I don't want to lose you. Although, like Luke said, the customers that are top level, of the 80/20, right? That
Hmm.
80% that calls in 20% of the time for reservices, that they're the ones that aren't bothering your technician and
Hmm.
leaving the one-star reviews. Those folks aren't really calling in anyway. But just to kind of put your mind at ease, you're going to save probably another, what would that be? So if it's your percentage of people calling in is, man, it's got to be 5-10% or whatever. You're going to be able to save the majority. You're going to be able to save 9 out of 10 right there on the phone. That 10% or less of the people that call in, not the total customer base, but the people that call in, they're self-selecting.
Yes.
And I bet
100%.
you if you look at their service report, they're going to be requesting the most reservices. They're going to be with you for the shortest amount of time of the people versus the people
Yeah.
that didn't call in.
Yeah. And for anyone out there that is really hesitant, even after hearing all this, say you have, let's make up a number, say you have 500 clients. Hey, just raise 100, next month, and just see how it goes. Track, how many
Yes.
call, how many cancel, and then, if it worked out, which I guarantee it will, then expand that to the rest. But if you're worried about it, just start with a subset.
And it's a great strategy for pretty much any change in your company.
Yes.
Don't go, and we beta test like software. We're doing a new AI text message software right now, which is working awesome, by the way. And it's cool because I'm obviously one of Proof's customers in Arizona. And so I didn't even know about it. I did not know that our team implemented it. And I got this text message for upselling mosquito and tick service. But you don't do it across the board, right? For a lot of reasons. You mentioned like, hey, if there are people calling in, we don't want our CSRs taking all these calls because they're still,
Yeah.
working with customers about their reservices and other things. So,
Yeah.
absolutely, with this type of systemic change within your company, you want to test it for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but for us, we don't do any notifications. Same thing. We've tested it. We've tested, hey, let's send a letter, let's send an email, let's do different things. For us, I'm not saying this would be the rest of the country, but for us, we found the best. You get the least complaints and cancels if you don't say anything. You just put it in an
People don't
agreement.
even notice it.
Yep. Just put it in an agreement that, we're going to have annual price increases, and then, do it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what's interesting is everything, especially when you're on monthly billing, everything that people are paying for on a monthly
Mhm.
basis, their prices are going up.
Yes,
They
everything.
are.
So they're used to
The
it.
companies,
Netflix, yeah.
exactly. The companies that they work for, don't, they're raising their prices. If they're
Yeah.
business owners, if they're doctors, whatever it is, like it's funny that we're so afraid of it,
It
which
really
I
is. Yeah.
get, man. That was me in the beginning. I was terrified that all of my customers were going to cancel.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing. First few years, I didn't do price increases because I was afraid. But once I got bigger and really understood more of the business, that's when I realized it had to be done. It can't be something that we skip.
Awesome, man. What an episode. So we start by talking about pricing
Hmm.
and some of those hurdles that happen early on when you don't really know what you're doing, you're trying to keep the lights on. Um, then we talked kind of about some of the pros and cons of being high or low, how that affects the culture of your company. And for me, a lot of our company culture is driven by our technicians. And to get top level technicians, you have to pay them above the average, the average market pay. And the funny thing is that the better your technicians are, the more likely you are to retain your customers at a high level. And so then we go through this discussion about pricing, and making adjustments, and then the price increases.
Hmm.
And this is coming from, somebody that's well into the top 100, somebody that has a CPA background, although it sounds a lot like my legal background, where it's like, I'm a better bug guy than I am attorney. Um, so absolutely, man. Well, Luke, thanks for your time, man. That's what we got for today. That 30 minutes flew by.
I did.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
appreciate it. I love being on here. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, thanks for the invite.
absolutely, man. No,
Oh,
I think, there's a lot of people in the industry that look up to you. Like I see your name get thrown around. And so it was great to have you on here. Crushing it with Native, man. It's incredible what you're doing down there in Florida, and, wish you nothing but success.
thanks. Appreciate it. Hope you guys do well too. Keep it up.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bug Bux Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by subscribing and leaving us an honest 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.